Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the MLO show. My name is Addy and I'm your host. Of course, I have my co-hosts, Michael Miele, Casey Carpenter, and we do have a special guest today. Very excited about this. Kevin Winkle.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
From Keller Williams Portland Elite.
Yes, sir.
Did I say that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, you got to get the Portland Elite.
You do cover Southwest Washington.
Absolutely.
Gotta tie that in.
Yeah, even all the way up to Port Angeles.
Boom.
Like, I'm regional.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Talking regional.
He's a regional guy.
Pretty
Basically
intense.
all Pacific Northwest. You just hit him up.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
And
Yeah.
I think just to set a little agenda today, we're gonna hear a little bit about Kevin's story, but also dive into resale versus new construction.
Yeah.
Kevin is killing it in the new construction game, and you're gonna share some tips and tricks for us.
Absolutely.
So let's.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to you for like a lot of our listeners out there. You guys are consumers, but we also have a lot of people in the industry that listen to the podcast and stuff. And so Kevin has a great story and kind of background on, real estate and stuff like that really wasn't on his radar, and he was doing other things prior. And what he's done is kind of morphed him into this kind of new style of a real estate agent that I personally like, because it's a new way to look at like doing home sales and marketing yourself and going after relationships with builders or other people in the industry, investors and stuff like that. So if you're in the industry as a real estate agent, this is a good one to tune into, because you might be able to grab some extra skill sets for you to help you succeed.
Cool. Well, no pressure on me then.
Yeah. It's all on Kevin.
Yeah,
It's all on Kevin
basically
now.
we got a
All
guru in.
So okay, exhale.
Show up with value or be embarrassed. All right.
Yeah,
we
no,
got this.
that's the podcast right here.
Yeah, we can
I
handle
think
that, no
just
problem.
starting easy though. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, how you got into it, your background.
Sure. Well, Portland native, born and raised. I moved around the country a bunch of times, but keep coming back because my family's here, and I love the P&W.
Yes.
Can't not. So I grew up here on a skateboard. I was going to Burnside Skate Park since like
No.
1992.
Dude. So when the Tony Hawk game came out, you were just
I was like, whoa,
I've been there.
that's my spot. It was crazy. And not that I was all that good, but I'd love to go down there
Totally.
all the time. I grew up on that bus line. And so skateboarding leads to carpentry, and that actually dovetails into where I'm at today. So
Yeah, no,
it
that's a
goes-
transition right there.
It
Yeah.
goes all the way back, right? Because you can't afford the skate ramp, so you got to get wood on your own, find
Build
scrap
it.
wood from wherever, and build something to throw yourself off of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Laying
like-
down the non-skid on a new board is kind of like laying some carpet, and
I feel
going
like
it
this
up.
could be our word, non-skid.
Non-skid.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like is that the black stuff on top of the skateboard?
Grip tape.
Yes, grip
Called
tape.
it non-skid. That's
Totally.
that's a military term. Grip tape.
We're blending all the worlds here. So you built
Right.
that.
For real.
Definitely. Not necessarily the boards themselves, but I built like a lot of like fun boxes and rails and quarter pipes
wow.
and
Yeah. Did you ever
everything
build a
that-
half pipe?
I built a small one, a
Yeah.
really, really small one, but I skated them all the time. Like, totally loved those.
Like Ryan Sheckler.
Ooh.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah, that was the young
No.
kid. He was like, what, 14, 13 at the Olympics or something, crushed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the longer hair,
a TV
good looking
show on
guy.
MTV.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
nothing like him. More like if his super out of shape uncle was trying to skateboard for
Nice.
the first time since he was 12. Yeah, more like that.
Yeah.
Not-
What was
not
it
any
with
skill,
like
but
when
fun.
you're doing like half pipes and stuff like that when you're skateboarding? I remember it like the first time like learning to drop in is
Oh,
like
yeah.
one of the scariest things like you're ever gonna do. You're sitting on there on the edge, you're locked in, and you're like, dude, everyone's like, you just gotta commit, and like no
Yeah.
one ever really commits their first time. They kind of
yeah.
semi-commit, bail out, and just eat crap as they go down. I always remember that. And then once you conquer that fear.
Yeah.
Kind of like real estate when you're like, do your first cold call, right? Once you conquer that fear, like it becomes easy. Like you're just dropping in.
It's totally it is totally conquering that fear, and some of us have the genetic predisposition, and I'm not going to say it's a good thing to not have fear about stuff. So my brothers are the same way. Like there's no inhibition. It's
They're
like
just
you find
no
your
fear.
wall at top speed while you're trying to crash through it, and that's just kind of like how we've always been.
I like it.
So
awesome.
yeah, how we do one thing is how we do everything, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of started there. So yeah, and that definitely led to this, right? So like after years of building all sorts of silly projects at home, then the family starts to be like, hey, can you fix this fence? Can you hang a new door? Can you patch this thing? You know, and they started putting me to work. So all along, even before I got into like high school, I was doing like little property maintenance stuff,
Okay.
and that's just always just kind of been there. So
Kind of handyman stuff.
definitely, definitely, and it was really interesting because like much later in life, after I'd gone through a few different paths, I ended up going to school for audio production at the Art Institute of Seattle.
Nice.
And I dropped out of high school but went back, so I graduated when I was like 25.
That's awesome.
In 2005, and then worked in recording studios until, well, COVID killed my last studio.
And that was something like you had your own studio built?
Yes,
and
definitely. Yeah, I was chief engineer at Portland Recording Studio for about 5 years. I was a second engineer at Crossroads Productions, which is like a huge mega church studio.
Gotcha.
Up in Vancouver. They're just monstrously big and incredible gear. So I actually helped to install and build that whole studio.
Is that the one where they really like get after it? Like music's playing, people are dancing, like they're grooving.
Yeah.
Hands are in the air and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
Nice.
It's a big church, and they got like just all the money in the world. So they have all the best equipment, all the best instruments, and therefore all the best musicians. And it's really interesting what they have going on there. Pretty cool.
Do they let you kind of be like a little DJ on the side and stuff and like get the crowd going and stuff, or no?
A little bit. I was actually they hid me in the back corner. They kept me in the back room. So
The
I
baby
was,
in the corner. Gotcha.
Right, totally. No, I was the gear nerd. So back there plugging in wires and hooking up cables and making all the things work together.
I mean, people don't realize like some people that come on and play music like at church, like some people rip.
Yeah,
Like they rip.
they
like,
really do.
I've seen electric guitars like get after it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's almost like a competition amongst local musicians. Well, first to get a paycheck. So like there's just not as many places that you can play music as a musician as you used to. And so within every church, there's going to be a bunch of people that play music, and they just kind of battle it out to see who's the most skilled. And the ones that are the most skilled get the most time and get the most pay for their time. So you can find like world-class jazz musicians who have traveled the world with the most famous acts every Sunday at the same church.
That's awesome.
Hitting drums.
Yeah,
playing
that's
bass,
awesome. That's cool.
Right? So that's actually all the people I ended up working with is all the jazz and funk and soul and blues and a little bit of rock, not as much, and then a lot of hip hop and R&B and stuff like that. So that was like lifetimes ago now, it feels like. But I still have the gear. I still make a little bit of stuff now and then for some like licensing. But all of those skills apply to like being a real estate agent because I do all my own editing for all my own social media stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And so that all kind of ties together.
Yeah, let's hear more about that.
Yeah. Okay. So that part is kind of interesting how they connect. Like I had sort of departed from music a little bit. I got a couple kids, and so I also was.
Like you bought a couple kids or had a couple
Yeah,
kids?
yeah, right. It just flew them right in.
Yeah.
No,
I mean that
not
happens.
at all.
2-day prime.
So,
2-day prime, it'll
I
be
have a
there.
daughter who's in her 20s now, and my son's 10, and so I always had like a side hustle or two, and it always ended up being carpentry or property maintenance or something like that. And as time went on and COVID started killing the studio, I started taking on more jobs with a general contractor, friend of the family. He was just a one-man outfit working to be a home inspector, and he did a lot of like property maintenance and home repair. So I was just working with him, and after about like 8 years of that, I'd gotten to the point where I was a one-man show, handyman, full outfit, all the gear, all the tools, everything, and I do everything from roofs to foundation, everything in between, finished carpentry,
Oh wow.
painting, like high-end type stuff. Craftsman. I like working with my hands.
What did you like? What was the business called?
His is Straight Arrow Construction, based out of Portland, still running right now.
Hey, shout out to Straight Arrow Construction.
Yes, shout out to Straight Arrow Construction.
I like that
for
name.
real. Yeah. Lonnie, the guy that runs it, just super nicest guy, puts in so much volunteer time. He's always trying to help people out. So he really kind of helped me to get stable as within the handyman business. And so real estate kind of became a progression of that, right? I just worked for private clients. It'd just be me working for them, like remodeling their home over time. And I had a couple clients that they'd have me remodel, and then they'd sell it and make a ton of money. And then they'd buy another one and have me remodel, and then they'd sell it and make a ton of money. And after about 3 or 4 with the same client, I was like, okay, guys.
You're onto something.
Wait a minute. There's something bigger here. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't trade in the tool bags. I still got them. Like I still do stuff for family and for myself and have things coming down the line. But there was a day where I was like 3rd story on the ladder, like 38 degrees, raining sideways, and I'm up there with the nail gun hanging siding because I have to pay my bills, right?
Right.
I'm just kind of going, okay, we just got to level this up. We
Right.
have to level this up. And a friend of mine had been in real estate for quite some time. I was like, dude, just get your license, and then you can just do this for yourself, and you can make the money. I'm like, wait a minute.
There we go.
All right, so I sort of created a 5-year plan out of that, and so far crushing that, and it's worked. So studied to get the license, and then boom.
How long did it take you for like studying and stuff like that? It's like a question we got. We actually just had a follower reach out, and he's
Yeah.
studying to be a mortgage advisor. And so it's like from the real estate side, obviously your guys' test a little bit different. How long did it take you?
Right.
And you don't have to divulge if you like failed it 6 times and finally passed. Like you could just say like,
No, totally. It took me longer than I thought to study. That 150 hours is really hard to pack into your schedule when you're already working 50 or 60
for sure.
and got kids and all the things. So it's a real challenge. It is a barrier to entry. In some states, it's harder than others, for sure. So I took it in Oregon first, and Oregon requires like 150 hours in order to take the test the first time. And most people don't pass the first time. I was very fortunate that I did, and kind of surprised, honestly, because it took me so long to get through all the study material that it wasn't fresh.
Right.
So somehow I got through, made it through.
yeah, a lot of people don't realize like, and it's hard when you're not in the business or in the industry. Like some of this stuff,
Sure.
like it's a language that you don't even know yet. You know, it's like speaking a second language. I remember with mine too, like the one thing I could remember from all the studying was 3 days. It's like any question was like 3 days. How long is the waiting period? 3 days. This period, 3 days. That was the one thing I could remember. And then like my branch manager was, you know, funny and nice and not nice about it. Announced it to like the entire company, like I'm taking this test, and so they would
Before?
know. Yeah,
Oh.
and they wouldn't know that. O'Farrell. Yeah, Ryan O'Farrell. Shout out to him. But they would. So the whole company knew when I was taking the test, when I'd show up the next morning, whether I passed or failed. And for somehow, like it was like one of those questions, and it had all the days, and I was like, I'm going to 3 days. I closed my eyes, hit it, and I passed by one question, like
Wow.
barely, like
What
barely.
percentage did you get? Because what do you need, a 75?
I think it's like
Random
75 or
I think
80 or
75.
something, 75. So I got like a 76 or something.
You
like,
just got it.
like just barely got it. And that's, not
Yeah.
looking back.
Yeah, those tests aren't easy either, and especially in Oregon. Like they are rigorous. They're intense. There's people in my office that are still trying to become an agent who just keep failing it, and keep failing it, and keep failing it. Yeah, it's like a pretty small percentage that makes it through. But what people in Portland don't know, and what Oregon agents need to know, and especially new ones, is Washington will reciprocate, especially if the company you took your education from also does Washington hours. You can count most of your education towards Washington. They have way less hours in Washington to first get your license, and then
Okay.
they have a lot more when it comes to your first renewal. They do like 90 hours or whatever, but they reciprocate. So after like a month of having my Oregon license and starting it at Keller Williams Portland Central, they said just go take your Washington test. And as it turned out, the people I'd taken my education from reciprocated with Washington. They also did Washington stuff, so I could just go in and take the test, and did, and passed. And it was amazing because now that just opened up a whole region.
Yeah, and I like that strategy because I like in our business, and we're again here in Pacific Northwest, Oregon, for people that are listening in other states, but there's a lot of transactions that happen between Oregon and Washington because we're so close, just divided by a river. And I think for me, like I got my Washington license 4 months after I got my Oregon license, and it kind of just works hand in hand. And you see these shifts, like when you've come across somebody in the business, it's like, for me, I'm licensed Oregon, Washington, California, Idaho, Arizona, and Florida. And they're like, well, why do you have all those? Because like people move in real estate and
Yeah.
they leave and they do stuff. And like for us here, like people get tired of the rain. And so where do they go? They go to Arizona, they go to Florida, they get second homes, and you'll follow those clients, you know, like you'll create those relationships and follow those clients. But
Vacation property.
vacation properties. And then we get like different, like, remember those years, what was it, 2018 or something, where like everyone was like, I'm out of Oregon, I'm going to Idaho. I mean, it still kind
Yeah.
of
I
happens.
feel like that was
Happening
yeah
still.
right now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still happening, right? Like you'll have, you know, just state politics affect things and people change. And so,
I think that's why so many people in Portland go over to Vancouver. It's just the tax laws are so different.
It
Like the tax
is.
laws.
It is.
do I speak on that for a second? But there's a play there people do.
There's a huge play there for anybody who's working from home or has their own business to live and work in Washington. Now, it took me maybe 20 minutes to get down to Tigard from Vancouver today. We're just right across the river, right? But it's a huge difference. They say if you make over $200,000 a year and live in Multnomah County, which is in Oregon, you are the number one most taxed individual in the United States.
Really?
Really? Okay.
I'll be using that later.
The Oregon state income tax is the highest that there is. Washington state does not have an income tax. They have a sales tax. It's smaller than the income tax, and it's not on everything. You don't pay that sales tax on everything, so it actually saves you a ton of money to be licensed and based out of there. And I'd say probably the number one place that people in Northwest Oregon move is Southwest Washington. Absolutely. The property value, it's a little bit cheaper. The taxes are way lower, and you're still in vicinity. I mean, it would take
Those
the same.
areas are expanding so much, like Camas, Ridgefield, Vancouver, the South Waterfront in Vancouver. It's all so different than it was even 5 years ago.
Boy, is it. Last year, over 40% of real estate transactions in Southwest Washington were new construction sales.
Oh, wow.
I mean, finished. That doesn't include development and empty lots and stuff. But of
Right.
home sales, 40% was new construction.
Wow.
And it was about that the year before also. These are numbers that are like way beyond anything we've seen historically. It's usually 5, maybe 10%. And this is how much it's growing. Even nationwide, we're seeing that. But that's really a force multiplier of our population growth, right? We grow so fast. The human race grows like exponentially. And we make families faster than we can make houses. Nothing wrong with that. That's just what it is. So we're still trying to catch up to it. Now, 3 years ago, they said we were 4 million houses short in this country. And now they're saying the number's closer to 8 million. And we're building as fast and hard as we can and are having a hard time building ourselves out of this deficit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of places that you're just seeing huge growth. I mean, Camas, Washington is a great case study. It was a small town with a very stinky mill, and nobody wanted to live anywhere near it. Since that's gotten kind of shut down, changed, decommissioned mostly, Camas has exploded in size. Every year, they're in this small suburb of a suburb, if you will. They're having thousands and thousands and thousands of homes built, and it's just about to double in size again. So much new construction. And as the urban growth boundary keeps expanding, that's one of the best places to go. And frankly, they got the best schools. They got the lowest taxes. Their property values are awesome. I mean, their median sales price is somewhere around $800,000. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah, I had like several coworkers that used to live up in Camas and stuff. And it also has that still like old kind of local small town vibe. Like their sports are pretty good there. Like they run back-to-back state championships a lot in football and stuff like that. So
yeah, through the roof, right? They got
Yeah.
the most money, and there's a lot of tech that moved there, a lot of tech manufacturing, and so it's just a fast-growing and exploding area. But so is Ridgefield. Now, Ridgefield, which is to the northwest of Camas, diagonally north of Vancouver, is exploding just as fast. I mean, last year it was probably 50+% of sales there were new construction, maybe a little bit more within Ridgefield. Have to look at it. Might have been closer to 60. They're really killing it.
They've
I
got a
mean,
Costco now, so that's when you know
they've
you've made it.
just put in a Costco.
And they're getting in and out, right?
In and out,
In and out.
is skipping Portland, and it's going straight to Ridgefield, Washington. They got that casino up there, A.
Yep.
And honestly, Ridgefield is a gorgeous area. It's right on the 5, so it's super accessible to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But
Got Tri Mountain Golf Course up there. It's a pretty nice golf course.
definitely.
Yep.
If you ever follow the City of Ridgefield Facebook page, it's a good follow.
Wow.
Like, whoever manages that page, like,
That is
kudos.
so random.
When I get relocation clients from our YouTube channel, I do follow these cities on their Facebook, so I get like the city planning, the
pulse.
updates. City of Ridgefield Facebook page manager, hundo.
Give me
Like,
an example.
we're cracking down on speed limits once again. Join the initiative for a safer neighborhood, and then the cross streets and pictures of like where people need to slow down. There's going to be a construction zone in this section. Beware, like Tuesday through Friday, like
Spreading the good word.
all the time, like police stuff, speed stuff, community events, developments, permits, of like any crime, if any. Like they'll post shoplifter photos, like track down, like this person stole a candy bar. Be on alert. Like that place has to be the safest place.
It totally is. It really is.
It's impressive.
What I really like about it is kind of the values that are being built into the areas.
Core value.
Yeah, absolutely. And even within the construction, it boils all the way down to like what goes into the walls. They're more focused on eco-conscious construction practices, more green building.
Yeah.
You know, they're really thinking about what kind of materials we're putting into the homes, because people are thinking about, oh wait, we have all these problems like asbestos, lead paint, all this stuff that just plagues the real estate market. When it's kind of made people think about, well, okay, what's the half-life of this paint that's on the wall? Is it going to start to make us sick over time? Like, are these materials that we're using in the carpets going to over time deteriorate, get turned into nasty, cancerous, fibrous stuff and thrown in the air, and then we're breathing that? Because, that was shag carpeting, for the record.
Well, and it's really close to protected land. It's really close to protected land. So I think there's some sort of collaboration between the forest and the builders and the parks and kind of restoring all that.
Oh, definitely. We see a lot of that built into the way that they build the neighborhoods. They have to have these huge stormwater treatment type areas, like so all the drainage, because I mean it rains a little here, right? Basically every neighborhood that gets put in gets a pond installed in order to catch all of this rainwater, and so all of the different developments have a different way that they kind of treat it, and what kind of plants that they'll put in there to help to clean the water so it's not poisoning the earth that it's going into below it. And it's pretty cool. It's cool to see those things built into the new construction process. It does make it a lot more difficult. So development can be a little bit more of a challenge, especially when you have like natural springs or streams going through a property and things like that. They're really approaching that with a lot more care and caution than they have historically. But also, do it right, do it the first time, and then you have these amazing communities that last. Not throwing up little T111 sided manufactured homes that'll blow down in the wind. Yeah. They're using thicker construction. These aren't as disposable of houses, most of them that are going up. They're using 2x8 instead of 2x6 inside of the walls. They're doing more work in the footing and foundation and with the drainage off of the houses for them to last longer. So where a house would have a life expectancy of like 30, 40 years, if it was built in the 70s, these new ones that are getting put up have a life expectancy of 50 years, which just means like lower CapEx, lower maintenance costs over the lifetime of the home, and just a better all-around product and a better vibe to be inside of. Like you can feel it when you're inside of something cheap, and you can feel it when you're inside of a place that's like built out. They really put the love and care into the surfaces and into the finishes. Like it feels different.
I'm sold, Kevin.
We're all moving to Richmond.
All right, we're all going.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Let's hear a little bit
Tax
more too,
advantage.
because I think there's a big topic to discuss between the resale and the new build right now. Because yes, we're talking about quality stuff, right? There's obviously well-built items and not so well-built items, but I think adding to that percentage outside of the inventory thing, yes, we're getting more and more people and less house, and that's hard to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
But right now, builders, in my opinion, are more in tune with the consumer's need financially to make a purchase.
Oh, yeah.
What I mean by that is, let's say Susie wants to sell her house and move to a different area of town. Well, Susie has a perspective of what her home is worth. And a lot of that is heavily weighed on her emotion and her time and what's been put into the property. It might not necessarily be an accurate reflection of its current value based on the buyer's willingness to purchase for a certain price. Now, builders don't really put much emotion when it comes to the price tag. They're like, well, I built this, I'm paying interest on it, I have to sell it. To them, it's inventory. It's the same concept as retail, right?
Right.
Holding on inventory, Black Friday. We're going to clear out the inventory. Let's go. So you're seeing tons of incentives. I'd love you to dive into incentives from builders and what you're seeing out there right now.
Absolutely. There's a lot of it, and it's really different than what we think. The builders are super motivated. Here's the funny thing, though. They can't change the price of the home. They're not going to negotiate and niggle over, okay, $875 versus $865 versus $895. No, the price is the price.
Right.
However, what they can do is give all sorts of concessions and incentives because they can write this stuff off against their taxes. So they are super motivated to give you extra things if you ask for it. If you go walking into the sales office without your agent, you're not going to get these concessions.
Right.
You're not going to get the extra stuff. You need an agent for this. But if you have your agent go in, you can get them to contribute way big amounts of money to your closing costs. And more than just the closing costs, which is like loan origination fees and taxes and transfer fees and stuff like that. In addition, you can get them to give you a lot of money for the interest rate buy down.
Right. The seller builder paid buy down.
Yep, absolutely.
A lot of those this year.
Yeah, a ton of them, and different lenders have different overlays. I know that, and they work differently with new construction. Some of them will have in-house lenders that'll be private money or what have you, and other lenders can do a little bit more with new construction, and it's totally different. And you guys can definitely speak a lot more about that. But the seller with the house who's put all her money into it, and she's lived in the home for a long time, isn't really as able to negotiate and flex because a concession isn't a tax write-off for her. It's just something that's getting taken off of her net when she takes home.
That's such a good point. I didn't even think about that. And going back, I think it's important to summarize the sales price thing. So a builder will not and does not want to lower their price because they're going to continue making more and more of these houses. So if they come down, it lowers the value on all their future production. Versus concessions, builder or seller concessions or credits, people refer to it as different things, can be essentially an under the rug incentive. Like it doesn't deteriorate the value of their future inventory. So they'll get 10, 20, 30, 40. I've seen $50,000 in combined builder incentives or credits. So you might use the biggest one for us is that buy down. So like a builder seller paid buy down, which is calculated based on the amount borrowed and your full interest rate, but you could get 2% off your rate for year one.
Yeah.
We're talking $600, $700, $800 a month in payment just to get in. And then Kevin comes around and gets some sod, fencing, appliances, their other closing costs covered.
Yep.
No, I mean, it's 100% right. People forget, like, you have, and especially, like, if it's builders that are well-known builders and stuff, too, like, you have kind of people that follow those developments and want to get in those neighborhoods. And then they have the plat map, like, usually built out there in the subdivision. It shows you all the lots. It shows you which ones have been sold. Like, they mark it to try to show. And clients will go through and be like, well, I'm looking at this house. It's pretty much dang near the same. But, like, if it gets sold at a lower price point, like, that is leverage now from every next and future transaction going forward against that builder and their agents, because they're like, well, lot 36 sold at $745, and now these other ones you have at $825. Why would I pay the $825? You know, like, they really do leverage it. I speak on that because I was new construction lending for like 3 years. And so you will see them do the concession side. And I think, honestly, it's a smart way to not get yourself into that pigeonhole of like, yeah, okay, we had the one-off, house that sold lower, and, try to explain your way out of that stuff. Because some buyers, especially a lot of us, and we know, like, some of our engineers out there, some of our certain buyers, like they are grinders. Like they will grind you for every penny. So you can't give a certain house one price point and then try to sell another one at a higher.
Yeah.
I do think it's important too to hit his point about registering with Kevin or your agent prior to going to these.
No, yeah,
like,
using your
instructions.
own representation.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I saw something on social media where there was like a sign now, like if you
Yeah.
enter this model home without an agent, like there was some disclosure. Like
Well,
it's a really big
think
thing,
that's
and you
what the
do
NAR
want
stuff.
to be represented by someone not associated with the builder.
Yeah,
It's kind of like if someone was suing you, would you just take the person suing you's lawyer?
100%.
I would not want to be represented, and that's a negative example.
No,
like,
but-
you want to have someone that's working for you, negotiating, looking out. And some people, I'll just negotiate my own credits. Well, here's the thing, folks. Like I've also seen people trip over that strategy and put themselves in you don't know how much cabinets cost. You don't know how to project manage all the installation and the completion dates, the inspection reports. You don't know if you're getting upmarked on materials. You don't know what a 2-1 buy down should cost. But if someone on the other side of the fence, the builder's bank, the builder, are all sliding you numbers, how do you know that that's fact checked?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I want to get Michael's take on it. Like, what, because I'm sure you have these conversations with your buyers. Like, why do you advise them, or maybe not advise them, to have their own buyer's agent when they're like doing new construction?
New construction only.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think that I've ever had that conversation. I think just new construction only, you only have a buyer's agent. I think that it's a hard conversation because I think there are some agents. There's probably agents on here that are like, don't you dare say that you can't be the buyer's agent and the listing agent, you jerk. Because there's a lot of agents that do that. They will double team on the transaction. And I think,
I'm not a fan of that.
yeah, I mean, I don't disagree necessarily because I think it is hard to. I don't want to be the person that's saying this. All
you
the
can-
people are going to be like, "You're the lender that
Michael's
doesn't
so,
like this."
like-
I'm the
She-
lender.
she
I'll be that
stays
lender.
PG.
No,
I
I mean-
have no problem
I mean,
standing up
well,
for that position.
what-
And no sense should be there. The selling agent represent the buyer at the same time, unless it's some family one-off. Why you would never do that? I would
1000%.
Never do that.
1000%.
I'm sorry, and I don't care. Like,
But do you have agents that do?
no, absolutely not.
Never.
Not my personal agents.
Yeah.
No.
You probably know a handful. I know a ton
I'll
of agents
take all
that
the
will take both.
unfollows in the world for that opinion.
No, I don't
That's fine.
disagree with you. I think that it's super fair that the buyer needs to have their own representation, especially now when there are, during 2020, we were seeing these $100,000 over asking prices as well. But I think
True,
right now
true.
where there is so much on the table on the seller side that it is important. But
Yeah, the biggest thing I just wanted to get across from everybody is like just making sure you're represented to your fullest. Like you want someone in your corner, and it is kind of challenging when maybe it's just a resale home and that other person is listing it and then trying to also represent you. Like they started this transaction as being the seller's agent, like trying to do everything they can to get that home sold at the price the sellers agree upon.
they
and all
likely
this
have
stuff.
another transaction that it's tied to because their seller is likely buying something else. So they have
Exactly.
skin in the game for multiple transactions.
Yep.
Which,
Yeah. And then like on the builder side, like it's the same thing, right? Like you want that agent representing you rather, and I'm not putting down anyone that double sides because I have agents that do that. I have great agents out there. Sometimes you can really make it work because they can really kind of get a little bit deeper with that seller maybe for you as a buyer. But like on the new construction side, I know plenty of great agents that work that type of model that are on-site agents for builders.
Right.
Sure.
But the primary goal is to move that unit for
Right.
that builder. Get that thing sold so that frees up their credit line. They can pay back off their debt, get a new access to credit line, start the new lot. Like turn it and burn it. That is the primary goal. It's not to sit out there and have homes just like sit on the lot. Like
Make people feel warm and
make
fuzzy.
people feel warm and fuzzy. But it's like you want to be just represented, or at least know that that person's looking out for all your best interests. And there's obviously some things changing with NAR and stuff. We don't need to get into that, but for the most part, you're not sitting there usually having to pay your buyer's agent. And I say that with like real leniency nowadays, but like you want to make sure that you are just represented because the agent's there to sell the builder's product.
Absolutely. And I can even take it a step further. I've developed a lot of relationships with builders in Southwest Washington. And they, almost all of them, with the exception of one or two, would prefer that the buyer comes in with an agent, and not just any agent. They'd prefer that they work with a new construction specialist, someone that understands construction,
The process.
Good point.
that knows, that understands the whole process of property development, of dividing a property, recording the plat map, getting it shovel ready, and knows, what order everything goes in, from all of the drainage and utilities to the foundation to the framing and the rough ends, and step by step by step. And that agent should also be going and walking the project, because there's things that happen with some builders, not all of them. Some are more organized, some are a little less organized, and occasionally they'll put a wall in the wrong place, or they'll put the wrong joists in the floor, or they won't be hanging the joists correctly. They'll put the hurricane straps on the wrong side, or just things like that. So
Miscalculate costs.
absolutely,
I've seen that.
yeah, go to install the wrong surfaces. There's little things like that a new construction specialist agent like me, and like several that work in the new construction and new home sales division, we know what those steps are all the way through. So we're going to have a meeting with the builder on the regular, probably almost weekly, if not more often, a check-in through the process. And so someone who just got out of real estate school and just got their license might, no offense, guys, but that might not be the person to go walking into the new construction with. As a matter of fact, they might be the ones that got hired to be sitting inside of the model home and trying to catch people
Drum up
that
business,
way.
yeah.
Yep. No, that's such a good point. Yeah, because new construction is a different beast. Like, it's a different transaction. It's longer typically. There's a lot that goes involved into it. And from a basic side, there's also different fees, title fees, early issue fee. Like, people are like, what is an early issue fee? Well, you're the first person to live in that home. Like, step foot and live in that home. So there's little things that like need to be explained to a buyer from a experienced agent, especially new construction certified agent, or one that's just been in that model for a long time, done new construction with clients, or from loan officers like Michael, Addy, and me, because like those things, like there's so many different steps to buying new construction. I mean, even from an appraisal reinspection, like a final inspection, and make sure the home's completed. Because guess what? Most of the time it's being built, right?
Property tax is not being assessed yet, just based on land value.
Nailed
That's
it.
a huge.
I knew she'd have a nugget.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of those little steps, and sometimes that property value in the end, at the appraisal, is going to come out less than what you thought it was, or it might come out a lot more. Because
Well, it's also depending on the development. I mean, are we at stage 1 of the development or stage 10?
Totally.
Yeah,
totally different,
which
yeah.
phase are we at? For sure.
Absolutely. I've heard a little insider tip here.
Oh,
If-
ooh.
yeah.
Hot tip, hot tip.
Do
Here's
it.
a good one.
Drop
If-
the tea. Give us
Sure.
the tea, man.
Totally.
We're
So
all
if you got extra money to throw around and invest, a popular investment against long-term agents, mega agents, people who've been in it forever, is to connect with the builder and be one of the first people to buy a lot in the development, but they purchase the last lot sold. So they buy it, and by the time they get all the way through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, that phase 3 lot has already been sold, but guess what? It's worth 3 times as much as it was
Oh.
than when they bought it. So you can just park your capital there.
I like
and
that. So
watch it
you're
explode.
trying to meet that builder, be one of the first lots purchased, but you're purchasing one of the last lots being built.
That's
Is that what you're
correct.
saying? Okay.
That's exactly correct.
So you're not purchasing like lot 1. You're purchasing lot 50
300,
or
yeah.
300 or whatever it is, like the last one,
Right? Yep.
but the first buy of the subdivision.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Dude, that's good.
Yeah.
And
And
we
then
think of stuff like this.
you have it under contract for this whole time, and appreciation happens. So even if you don't build the lot, even if you've just
Bought
owned the lot,
Just the lot, no
bought
home
the
or
lot.
nothing.
right, by the time it's all the way at the end, that lot value is worth way more. And since you've had it pending under contract for 3 years, you've just seen all the appreciation.
Do you actually close on it, or you just keep it pending with the builder? Vice versa.
Depends. If you
Okay.
can close on it, cool. But for the most part, you keep it pending with the builder. It helps them to stay on track, on schedule. The bank loves it. They're like, yeah, this is a big project.
Do you
Yep,
like
right
depositing
with
just like
this.
more and more earnest money throughout the time, or you just like,
No, it's just kind of like
Just
you're
a
just kind of
deal.
on the schedule.
okay,
Yeah.
dude, I love that nugget. That's
interesting.
killer.
I know
Yeah.
to keep the conversation rolling on the new builds. Another really attractive thing I've noticed over the last maybe 12 to 18 months with new construction is, in a lot of scenarios, it allows for significantly more of a runway in closing for buyers. So let's say they don't want the stress that it takes to move a family by listing it, and then once you've sold it, to try to get into contract and squeeze it all into this 30 to 60 day window. That can be a lot of strain, and for some people, they just can't handle it with whatever chapter they're in life, right? So if you're getting a lot or something that just started building and you put the deposit down, you can see anywhere from 6 to 9 months of runway till completion, which allows you a little more flexibility to get your house ready, to maybe time it on a better week or weekend to list, and then maybe play a little bit of a negotiation for a rent back.
Sure.
I see a lot of benefits there for the more stressed household family that wants the flexibility.
Sure.
Why is that so funny?
Which household is not stressed out here?
No,
it's
there's a lot of like people that are just like, go with the wind, it's gonna work out.
why
And
not?
they're cool. And then some people are like super planners and want.
No, it's a lot.
Right.
Like doing one real estate transaction just alone, just buying a house.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. And like I tell my clients that go contingent and sell and buy all the time, be prepared to be like inundated with a lot. Like now you are selling your home and everything that goes involved in that, getting it ready, all the stuff that you have to deal with it. Now we're buying a home as well. And like we're hitting you up for a bunch of stuff, and you are doing multiple transactions. So like your point there versus a resale where you're trying to sell your house, typically as quickly as possible, and buy this other one that's already, it's a house that's been existing for a while. The new construction gives you a longer period of time to complete both transactions, really get yours sold, take that time. And, the hard part, though, sometimes you run into with that is
being homeless.
being homeless. 100%. Like Michael said, like your house might sell before that one's completed. So you have this in-between phase.
I'm sure there's a statistic on how many new constructions actually close on time.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably very small.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit small. Depends on the size of the builder, really, and it can depend on the county too.
Yeah.
I know
Weather,
of somebody
supplies,
recently who was buying in a new development by a big luxury builder, and I'm not going to name any names, but they know the people in the company. They're buying the lot next door. They expected it all to be done and wrapped up in a year, and because of some crazy stuff from the county that was buried in some handwritten records from the late 1800s, it took almost 3 years to close.
Wow.
After, I mean, this is like
Wow.
a $3 million home,
Wow.
and it took forever to get it through just because of some hidden stuff. So it's also something that pops up in new construction development. Sometimes there's some super buried old CC&Rs that people aren't even aware of, or maybe can't hardly find until they like break out the industrial shovel down at the county and go digging through the records, and then they find like some easement from 100 years ago that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I always picture like how fun that'd be though. You're just in there, you're going through the
man.
files, the dust is flying up, you got your glasses on, the flashlight, you're just trying to like like investigating Sherlock Holmes style, like trying to get this one document. 36 months later, you're like, got it, found it, it's right here.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think some of
pretty
the
much it.
flexibility part, though, is like, let's say you're relocating from a totally different state.
Yeah.
Like, you have a particular time frame of choosing homes, and I think a lot of people are attracted to like knowing what they're going to get. They're like, hey, I know this development, I know this builder builds 4 to 8 different products, different styles of homes. Versus the resale market, you're kind of subject to what's available when you're ready to go, and
Totally.
it could be good, it could be old, could be bad, could not work out. So there's some stability, I think, with the limited choices from current inventory builders.
There definitely is. You have a
I can
lot
go
of
either way, by the
control.
way. I'm not like
Well, there's
I own both.
definitely, but really, in the long term, new construction is a better investment. Bottom line, and for 2 reasons. One, you can get a lower payment for the same principal loan. Okay, if you get a $700,000 loan at 7.2%, your monthly payment is going to be a lot higher than if I negotiate with the builder for you and you get a $700,000 house at a 5.2% when they buy you down by 2 points permanently.
Sure.
Well,
So
permanent,
That's way lower. You're going to live in it for 20 years? Cool. Let's talk about the life expectancy of a house. Homes are built to have a 40-year life expectancy, which means if that thing's been around for 40 years and it hasn't done all the maintenance necessary, it will just crumble to the ground. They're literally built to do that. And this is how the whole industry has been created from day one. This is stick-built housing. So now we're pushing on the edge of that. So the capital expenditure for upkeep and maintenance on a house is less. We're using better products. We're building houses that last longer. And when you go in and buy a used home, within the next 10 years, there's a really high likelihood that you're going to have to throw down $20K for the roof, $5K for the water heater, $15 to $20K for your HVAC unit. And all these capital expenditures add up.
Sure.
So, and the older the house is, the more those do add up. So in a new construction home, you don't have that CapEx, and CapEx can kill you as an investor.
Right.
You know, and even if you're living in it, just as a homeowner, you need to understand CapEx and what it's going to cost you to keep and maintain that home for a long time. A lot of investors try and like get a home that's cheap and maybe rent it out for a while, and they're cash flowing $200-300 a month. And the water heater blows up on the second floor, drops through into the lower floor, and now you have a year before you're done with the insurance companies getting all of the money back for all the repairs that you had to foot the bill for to get reimbursed for. And people are like, what's going on? They just don't know what capital expenditure is. So that's one of the most important things to think about with your money is what your other costs are, not your ticket price, but all the rest of it.
I will respect you for that statement that new construction is a better investment.
Here comes the argument. Here comes the argument.
I do think it deserves fine print. You've got location, size of lot, quality of build are three factors that have to be added into that statement.
Sure.
Because there's certainly plenty of builders out there putting up really crappy homes at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and now you have the first of 2,000 crap homes. That ain't going to be the best investment.
And I think some people pay for character. There are people out there, especially in Portland, I feel like, that would love a 1940s remodel.
Sure. Well, and size of lot, too. I get a lot of people that just don't want new construction size. Like, they want space and breathability. But I love that you said that. I think it needs
there's some variables there for sure. I think, like, we can... And I'm gonna transition this into kind of what Kevin's doing now, kind of with his builders, promoting them with his own like business and stuff, the video, the YouTube and stuff, especially for any of our realtors out there listening. But there is an important thing on just the new construction that we can end it on is like not all new construction is the same. No. There's a difference between like national, big scale, large builders that build 500, 1,000 unit subdivisions, and your different local builders that build 50, 100, 150 unit subdivisions. Like there's completely different models there. You also want to look at maybe how that builder like builds a home. Like there's some really good builders. Obviously I'm a little biased, coming from family with builders and stuff like that on my in-law side, but like look at their certifications and stuff. Like some of these builders are building like energy efficient, platinum level, Earth Advantage homes, like a lot of things that go into like just a really quality home build rather than some of these other builders that I'm not going to say, but you can Google them. They're, I think they have,
and that's another reason
6 letters in their name.
That's another reason why they need to use someone like Kevin and get represented. Straight shooter. They're going to understand, hey, this development's been going this direction from my experience. You go and talk to the builder's representative. They're the best things in sliced bread. Like,
100%.
Look at this doorknob. Look at this backsplash.
Yeah.
We've had 0 problems. 5-star Googles. Like, all across the board.
Except for me, their bread has sunflower seeds in it. Can't have it. So.
Here we go. Back to the sunflower.
Full circle.
But it's like, this is the important, guys, is like, we've preached it for years to you guys, like the importance of having someone in your corner, a dedicated real estate agent that knows their stuff, dedicated loan officer like Mikal, Addy, and myself to just guide you. Because the biggest thing is information. And like, information is key. Like, we want you to be as educated as we are. We want you making the right decisions. And just real estate is just one of these worlds where there's a lot that goes into it. Tell us now, Kev, how you transition stuff, because marketing and stuff in this profession has changed a lot. It used to be, more of flyers, postcards, door hangers, stuff like that. And those stuff are all still very important. But you've seen a different avenue take off with social media, with people doing reels, YouTube channels. You guys know us, podcasts, Spotify, all the goods. And so for someone that's like, well, maybe I'm in the business and I'm just not like marketing myself, like tell them some keys that you're doing. You don't got to give away all your like secrets,
Sure.
but just tell them some stuff, because even for us, like through 5 years now, right, Addy? I mean, we've built this studio over and over and over again, and we've changed out so much equipment and stuff like that. And you're actually doing things that I haven't seen before, and finding equipment and different Amazon purchases that I think are phenomenal, because it's like we can't move this studio and take it on the road with us, right?
Right.
And you've got some stuff that's pretty cool. And so I just want you to rip on kind of how you're leveraging that, because it's created business for you. It's created partnerships. You're now showing like luxury home builders how to better market themselves through some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Or just tell me if I'm complete BS over here and I'm just like, giving you a good shout out.
No, I mean, well, first off, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for noticing and acknowledging, and also for inviting me in here and to be around and giving me knowledge. Addy, you've shared all sorts of valuable stuff with me about the back end, how you've sort of set things up with Zoom Pro and some other things like that. Really about channel architecture. And the most important thing is just, first off, keep learning. Always get around people that are successful in things that you're interested in doing, and learn as much as you can from them, and stay humble, but really stay after that knowledge. Find whatever it is. If agents are afraid to get on camera, like, you're dead. Sorry, it doesn't matter. A recent poll came out amongst buyers. The National Association of Realtors talked to the buyers. 97% of them said they'd prefer to work with an agent that has video content. And agents are like,
that's a stat right there. That's legit.
absolutely. It's a huge stat. And so, the first thing someone's going to do is Google you. And so you really have to take this differently. It's different marketing. It's different approach. And it's not like social media for the purposes of winning a popularity contest. You have to listen to what people need. And what people need is they need information on neighborhoods. They need to know, like, the best places to live in town. They need to know, like, what traffic is like if they're relocating or moving to an area. They want to know, how much houses are in this area, how much they are in that area, what the local recreation activities are, what people are into.
The property taxes between counties.
Definitely, yeah.
Politics.
Yeah, a lot of things.
That's a big one.
Addy's favorite.
That'll move them. Yeah. I mean, everyone, there's a huge section of the population that has to move to God's country at some point. They're up and out and off to Texas, and it usually has to do with, some kind of political reason or religious reason or whatever they have. Something in their life has changed, and it makes them move. So we need to listen to the call and what they need. They need to know more about the area. People don't as much need to see a house. They don't need to know you just listed something or you just sold something. They want to see different design ideas. They want to see the agents inside of those houses, not just pictures of the houses, but hey, look, this is what it looks like when someone walks through the kitchen. This is what it looks like to sit on this couch in here. And I call it the avatar in a space video. Like, every agent, if you don't just put up your camera on a tripod, walk in and sit down on a chair, like, you're missing out. People need to see that lifestyle, that kind of vibe thing without being hard sold on something.
Oh, I like that.
More than anything,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Welcome to the 6-bedroom house. It's going to be blah, 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 blah. And they kind of,
No, they
just
just
show
wanna
them how to live in there.
Yeah, exactly. They want to see what it feels like. They want to see you
Sit
interacting with the
down,
environment. They want to
Crack
see you
a
in the
bottle of
space.
wine, pour a glass,
They don't-
show the fireplace.
What does
Like,
it
dude, this
smell
is
like?
what it looks like.
You don't have to tell how many bedrooms, how many square feet. You don't even got to tell the price. They just need to know that you know how to handle this kind of transaction. The likelihood that someone is going to buy the house that's in the video is like nothing.
true.
Right.
It's nothing at all. So that's not really what we need to be showing, folks. We just need to show that these types of things are available. We know what they are, and we're inside of these spaces so that they can go, oh, well, if I want, a place that's got a 35-foot ceiling with glass from floor to ceiling and all this, a pot filler and all this. Oh, Kevin's around that all the time. I see him on the internet. He's always there. Cool, I'll reach out. Or, okay, I want to move to Ridgefield. Well, okay, most people are going to hop on YouTube and go, moving to Ridgefield, Washington, or Ridgefield, or new homes in Ridgefield, Washington. So they're not looking up Kevin Winkle, Realtor in Southwest Washington. Like, no one's going to do that unless they've met me. Then they're going to go do that.
Right.
Then they're going to look me up. And if it's nothing but me and a bunch of dogs and kittens and stuff, they're like, what? No, man, I'm trying to buy a luxury home. But if there's videos and you're showing like, oh, he's over at Toll Brothers. Now he's at Cascade West. Now he's doing some stuff with Glavin Homes. And, you know, now he's Urban Northwest at Evergreen Homes. And I'm showing these things. They go, oh, this guy actually knows where the neighborhoods are. Right. You know, oh, he knows the how to get here from there. And then in the videos, like, I always try and tell people how long it takes to get to certain areas.
That's a big thing. Yeah. Right. Especially like you talk to someone from Southern California, their perception of bad traffic and taking a long time is totally different than ours.
Oh, yeah.
Like their hour and a half is our 30 minutes. Like we're like, oh gosh, 30 minutes took me forever to get here to there. Like that's nothing.
Right.
You know, that's a massive improvement from what I'm used to. Or the opposite, a small towner might be.
Totally.
A small towner.
Small towner.
Yeah, I mean,
but
people have
it's important though. I mean, like someone
huge.
that maybe is moving here and doesn't really know that, like, and they're like, well, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna have a job in Portland, but I'm gonna buy something, you know, in the Gorge, or I'm gonna buy something, you know,
That's true.
in Gresham, even. Like, it's good to know that, hey, on a smooth day, you might be there in 40 minutes. On a lot of days, it's gonna take you an hour. And like, are you prepared for that? Like, cause then, you know, for some people, it's like, no, I'm not trying to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, to make it there. So I think that's key, like traffic. And we've had such an influx of people moving here in Oregon that, you know, even explaining where that's Oregon and Washington, like, it's tough for them to be changing like the current dynamics of freeways, highway flows, and all that kind of stuff, and like what we have here, because there's only so much space to like widen these areas, right? Yeah. So the traffic is killer, not in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, when showing off homes or whatever, I'm saying this is how long it takes to get to the Portland airport, or this is how long it's going to take to get downtown. This is how long it's going to take to get to the nearest ski resort. This is how long it takes to get to the beach. This is how long to get to the lake. Or I might just pull up Google Maps and be like, check it out. There's a lake here, and there's a lake here, and there's a lake there.
Now, speak on that, though, because that's something cool that I think you do from a market. Like, you will do your video and then embed Google Maps, and you're just sitting there as this floating body with Google Maps behind you, showing people actually on the map, like, how long it takes and where to go. Like, so talk a little bit like how, like some of that stuff you're using, you know, like, because I know you've got multiple YouTube channels now, I think.
Yeah.
And things like that. And this is, you know, more or less for our agents or other professionals listening, but.
Sure. Well, okay, so tools, I'll run down the tools list. First, I got to say, I learned a ton of stuff from Jackson. Like, serious. So Channel Junkies on YouTube, if you guys haven't checked it out, definitely he's got a lot of great information on there. And a great example of all of that is Living in Portland, Oregon is a great channel. Jackson's also got some other ones he's working on, and there's some other people that are following that same model. And so there's a lot of models out there to follow. So first off, find your model, work with it from there. And then as far as gear goes, there's such good cameras now.
It's crazy.
I can't believe, like, I spent years with old HDSLR cameras and trying to lug them around and make music videos for musicians and stuff like that.
It was like the ones on the shoulder and
big
stuff?
Well, I mean, it's like what's in the studio here is HDSLR, but I did have some of those big on the shoulder ones.
Popped like
back,
the
VHS,
in there.
like the whole thing, you know, weigh 1,000 pounds, give yourself neck problems trying to shoot a scene. And but it's so light now. Like the DJI Pocket is like this big, guys. It literally fits in your pocket, and it gives you 4K, 120 frames per second. Like it's fire. Like it just looks so good. And then the mobile microphone technology, Hollyland, like the DJI ones are okay, but there's some called Hollyland Lark that they're just these little magnetic things that just sit right on you, and it sounds like a radio announcer microphone. It gives you the best quality at all times, and it comes in like a little pack with 2 of them. Hollyland Lark, look them up on Amazon. They're amazing, not that expensive, and it just sounds so professional, like so good.
It's crazy how far it's come in 5 years.
Right.
And more affordable.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like they've got for like flying drone shots, they've come out with drones that you don't have to register with the FAA. There's one called the DJI Neo that's like $200, and it's like the best selfie thing ever. So you don't even need a controller, none of that stuff. You can just power it on, and it has some instant shot modes. So you can have it follow you as you're walking through a neighborhood. You can have it like circle around you, while you're standing out in front of some giant, gorgeous house and just showing you in the space. More about social media, the most important thing is really showing the life in it. Like if you don't have a lifestyle in with your brand, then people are just like, oh, it's just a salesy thing. This isn't actually a person that I need to connect with. And in real estate and finance, people work with those they know, like, and trust. So they have to know, like, and trust you. Yeah. And they're only going to get to know you and like you and trust you when they know more about you and what you're into. So not just showing the houses, but also what's your and. Yeah, I'm a realtor. And what else? Oh, and I love the outdoors. I love driving all over here. So I bought a camera to strap on the front of my car to drive through the Columbia River Gorge and show like this beautiful scenery. Awesome. People like it. They like all that and go out do kayaking videos, just little stuff, just showing the region, things that people like to do here, and they can kind of go, oh, I see, can connect with this guy, and you don't need to have this whole like huge production plan, and you don't even have to be good at editing if you don't want to. There's all sorts of services out there that if you search for one, you're going to get 1,000 of them fed to you in your Instagram feed, and all trying to advertise video services, right?
Yeah.
I was at a Tom Ferry event in Seattle a couple weeks ago, and they were showing one called Social Realtor, that you do all the capture and you send it to them, and for a monthly fee, depending on how much you do, they handle all of the back end of editing and posting, and they're not the only one. There's a lot of companies that are now doing this kind of servicing, because I didn't move into real estate to become an influencer. I tell you that right now. I'm not interested in staying on my editing at all times. In the meantime, have I been doing some? Yeah. I use CapCut. Super cheap app. It's got all of the functionality that Final Cut had for like ages, and it's right in your pocket. So really the newest iPhone is all you need. You don't need all this other stuff. A wireless mic, new iPhone, CapCut, and then farm it out to somebody else. Because if you're an agent or a lender or an investor or somebody in the field, your highest and best use is not video editing.
Right.
It's not at all. And if we know one thing, it's leverage. Leverage is the most important word in this entire industry. So leverage that out so that you can spend more time working with your clients, but you do have to do the capture on your own. Everybody has to be capturing, and there's a lot of great virtual assistants out there that can do a lot of that are based on YouTube SEO, YouTube optimization, social media marketing, and they're cheap. Like there's one called Cyberbacker that people in my office work with. It's an outfit out of the Philippines that's owned by a Keller Williams agent. It's completely designed for agents, and also for other businesses can use them as well, and you can get them for like half the price or less of an employee here, and they do a really great job. They're phenomenal, and they're being paid very well for where they're at, so it's a win-win for everybody. So there's different ways that you can leverage those systems to get a little further, but you got to stay posting, you got to stay consistent, and just get over it. Like if you're afraid of the camera, sorry, like sink or swim. The percentage is just way too high. Yeah. And there's no reason to not do it. Just do it. Do the hard thing.
Boom. Yeah. Choose your hard.
That's right.
I think with the video stuff too is like my biggest suggestion for people trying to get used to being on camera is to do Zoom calls with your family members.
Oh, that's good.
Because you start getting more comfortable with what you look like, what someone else looks like, looking forward on a camera. So instead of like checking in with your mom or your dad, like have a Zoom call with them for 15 minutes, or your cousin or whatever you're catching up, like, or even FaceTime. FaceTime's another really one to get comfortable with. Like it blows my mind with my niece and my nephew how they use FaceTime more than a normal call. It's just a part of what they're used to, and they're not self-conscious. They don't care. They're not like focused on their
Blair Witch Project.
They're just going for it because that's just what they're used to. So that exercise is all about it becoming second nature and getting rid of the fear that it's a big thing to jump into.
And it's like even just generational. Like my daughter she's on FaceTime all the time with my grandparents or her grandparents. And the other day she was like, I was messing with her in our bedroom, and she turns on the thing. She was like, "Hi, I'm Marley. Here's my video." I'm like, "How do you know how to do that?"
Right.
She's 4.
I mean, Chloe did the outro last week.
Yeah,
No
shout out to
problem.
Chloe, man, for sure. I mean, I honestly, when I call her, which is cool, and I like the fact that because if you don't have iPhone and iPhone, like the FaceTime isn't going to work, right? Or I mean, so because I have a Samsung, Android guy. But I do like the fact that Facebook allows you to FaceTime through Messenger.
Yeah.
So I just do that. I just hit up Chloe on Facebook Messenger, call her through it.
Yep.
Because she has Messenger for kids. She doesn't have like a Facebook.
Sure.
No one's shaming you.
I can see the eye rolls over here. And then I hit the video, and like me and her just FaceTime all the time. It's great. I think for like, I think one of the funniest things for my dad was we got him an iPhone, and this was a couple years and stuff before he passed away. But FaceTiming that guy was like a treat, and it was funny. And it's like this, like you're getting into like, and half the time he'd be just cussing most of the time because he couldn't figure out how to use the phone. But it was so funny, and it's like because you're talking like these old, like for grandparents and stuff I'm speaking now, like to be able to communicate with their grandkids and even their kids and stuff like. It's literally just a little life-changing experience for them because rather than just the phone. Hearing a voice, they can see you, and I think it's a great example for someone to be comfortable on camera because it's one of the things that we hear a lot. We probably get so much pushback from like people we try to bring on the show or like even people we try to bring in to record is people just don't want to be on camera.
Right.
And unfortunately, like it's become part of that marketing, just like you said for that percentage, like all the other stuff is still good. Thank you cards, door hangers, open fires. Like
It's not even marketing anymore. It's like a pillar of our business.
It's like
it's
a
a pillar of our business. Like it really is. And
Service.
it's a service. And it's about to be 2025. Like we ain't rocking no more in the old times. Like my daughters say, the olden days. Like we're not doing the olden days. Like we were progressing rapidly. Like we're going to start having like AI robots here soon, probably within the next 10 years, by the way Elon Musk is running the show. So, like, video is huge. And for us, I think it's just key. As we close this out, any last little nuggets, words of encouragement for anyone out there trying to get in the space? Because truthfully, for your industry and ours, like, it's been a grinder for most people for the last few years. We've lost like 53% of people didn't renew their licenses in Oregon for loan officers in 2023. So it'll be interesting to see what 2024 stats are. But yeah, I mean, so it is sink or swim out here. So
yeah, we lost a lot as well. Agents lost a lot. It's become a more difficult market. It just means you got to be that much more serious. If I was to give anyone advice, save up money before you get started, then make sure that you have a big cushion, because from the day that you meet someone till when they transact or you do a deal with them, it could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 7 years. So, and it's all about filling that pipeline. So you have to meet just a whole ton of people. You have to build right now quick business, and you also have to nurture long-term relationships. So without that padding to kind of go into it, it's really difficult. But also, it's even more difficult if it's not everything that you're doing. If you're not 100% all in, you're done. I mean, there's people that are hungrier. There's people that are going to work harder, that are more on top of it.
Praise be, like that's what's awesome. We're going to be great. We're going to make it because we're hungry for it.
Yeah.
People that aren't, see ya.
Yeah, Michael. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry about your luck.
Sorry about your luck.
For that one.
Addy's favorite word. Tell them what the savings are, Addy.
Reserves.
There it is.
Reserves.
Gotta have a reserve. How many reserves, Addy? How many we're talking about?
3 to 6.
3 to 6 months,
3 to
dude.
6
3 to 6 months to get you
operating.
started.
I think that's huge. I've just seen a lot of people, I can say it on both sides, the financing, lending side, and the agent side. I've seen their morals and their advisements compromised based on them needing a paycheck. Sometimes it's super obvious when someone's desperate. Sometimes it's a little more subtle, and you have no idea. I've also seen and heard of lenders pushing a close date to close a certain day so they get paid more a certain month. And it's not always in the best interest for the client. So if you're going to start and jump in, to Kevin's point, try to have some savings, some reserves, we like to call it.
Yeah.
Because that's not a great way to start your business. It's just being desperate. And
Totally.
I mean, it's a big deal.
Right. Yeah. Reserves and then lead generation. There's not a single problem in real estate that can't be solved from stronger lead generation. It's a contacts sport. It all has to do with how many people you talk to, how many people you become friends with, how many people you can actually bring value to. So know your stuff and stay learning so that you have something that you can talk about, but contacting as many people as humanly possible and in a genuine way. Right? A lot of people come out the gate and they just think, okay, I'm going to post and say I'm in this now, and it's going to be a whole bunch of business. It's not 2021 anymore. This is not. Yeah, this is not then.
We here now.
Yeah, this is a whole different situation. So coming into it, you have to be ready to build pillars of your business, just the same as pillars of your wealth. You have to have your long-term investments, your short-term investments, your reserves, and your operating capital. Well, same thing with real estate. You have to have all of that in addition to the different types of lead generation that you're doing, from person to person, taking people out to lunch, going to as many networking events as possible, volunteering more than anything. Go put in time, and like any place that could benefit from anything that you know, even if it's just labor, if you don't know anything. Go show up and help out and make connections with people. And that's what actually builds your business overall.
Dude, it's such good stuff there. Even like I forget about the volunteering thing. Like my mom's super heavy involved in a couple of nonprofits. She's actually an executive director, and I recently went to one of her fundraisers. It was like a banquet dinner. I had some of the most genuine conversations with people in that room. There was no intention in regards to like getting business or whatever. I was just there supporting my mom. But just that genuine personality and conversation, and there's just, you get so much out of it. I think that's something next year I want to incorporate in some of my core focuses. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's like an abundance practice.
Right.
Really, it's coming from a place of contribution.
Right.
At Keller Williams, they talk about doing care calls and calling and seeing, just touching bases with people, but more than that, finding out where it is they're at in life and where they're trying to get to, and seeing if you have a way that you can help to connect them with somebody. Because the agent's job is to know, like, literally everybody. Like, you need a plumber, electrician, a roofer, a citer, you need a designer, you need anything. Like, we've met literally everyone, and we don't get kickbacks from passing that information around, but we're also not going to put our name on the line for like some whack referral at all. So,
there's people helping people. I'm like, we forgot that in this world and country for some reason. Like, that's what we're like here to do. It's like the biggest thing and best thing I think anyone can ever do is like refer someone to something or someone that like helps them in a better place. And that could be a painter, that could be someone in real estate, that could just be like a personal counselor to help someone that's going through like maybe some mental stuff. That could be maybe certain attorneys for whatever personal, like things they're going through. Like that could be a babysitter. That could be like just a good mechanic that, is like we forgot to just like help people for some reason. And it's like we got to get back to being better out there.
Well, I've heard this quote before, and it's, what's your worth? And I've also heard people say your network is your net worth, but let me just reframe that a little bit. I have a job that in my job as an agent, I'm going to have a handful of transactions in a year, a dozen or two if I'm lucky. However, I'm going to have thousands of conversations throughout the year with people around me. So what's my real job as a human? Well, it's to help everybody around me. So if I've been given some knowledge or some tools or some understanding, or I've gained that by my own work, and I come across somebody who could benefit from knowing this or being connected with something, that's my real job. And transactions come out of that eventually. Cool. Yeah, but like, what good are you doing? Are you helping people to get where it is that they are trying to go, or are you going around and trying to get something from people?
Exactly.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I don't need anything from anybody. I'm just here to be a benefit. And that perspective, I see that in the company that I work with Keller Williams a lot, and I don't see that in as many other places, but I love that value, and I see how much good that the people around me do for the people around them, and that just has me completely sold on it. Like, always come from contribution. It's not about what you want, it's about how you can help someone else to get to where they're trying to go, and then amazing things happen.
I love that. I think we should end on that.
I think that's a great way to end it.
I really hope we contributed toward knowledge and understanding. Thank you so much, Kevin. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
That
this is
good
great.
stuff.
That might have been one of our longest podcast rips right there, and that's the way it should be.
Well,
Good stuff, buddy. I appreciate that.
I'll let you close this out.
Well, first off, Kev, do you want to tell them where maybe they can find some of your content and stuff? Shout out maybe some of your channels or anything for it.
absolutely. Yeah, if you just look up Kevin Winkle Realtor on Google, you're going to find me in the Portland metro area. Also, same thing on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel that you should definitely check out called Living in the PNW. But if you just search for Luxury Homes Battleground, Luxury Homes Camas, Luxury Homes Vancouver, you'll see us. We're out
We'll
there.
make sure to give you a subscribe on that channel too. We'll
Awesome.
get
I
some videos
appreciate
going
that.
up. Make sure Addy and Mikal do it.
Big YouTuber.
Yeah. Michael's a huge YouTuber.
I'll have my daughter follow you.
Yeah,
She's the real
Marley will
YouTuber.
get on that. I'll get Chloe on it too. Dialed in. But we appreciate everybody watching and listening. And shout out to us. Give us a follow, like, subscribe, and then keep those personal opinions or things you want us to talk about. Keep those flowing through our different platforms, because we take your guys' feedback and we love talking about topics that you guys want to hear. And that's kind of how I wanted to loop Kevin in today. Was there's been people asking about the business, agents, and stuff like that, and what better platform to give it to you guys. So MLO, we will
Catch you later.
catch you later.
The MLO show is hosted by Casey Carpenter, NMLS 1458123, Addy Net, NMLS 1542184, Mikal Mealy, NMLS 963197. Not a commitment to lock or lend. Terms and restrictions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Mortgage Express, LLC, NMLS Company ID 40831. Licensed in Arizona, Oregon, Washington, California, Idaho. With licensing in California by Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, DFPI, under the Residential Mortgage Act. Mortgage Express is an equal housing lender. For more information, visit www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.